Not be the last time we would see Punk, because right after the match, Punk will go on to be approached by Matt Striker, and Punk will go on to say that he has no involvement with the Shield. In fact, he doesn't even know the Shield. But he will say this. He had to say this, that he will go and out to the ring again before The Rock, because he knows The Rock going to try to electrify the fans, and he would drop another pipe bomb. Now that already raised my eyebrows. Pipe bomb, CM Punk. You might get something good. We stay backstage and we see Bryan Danielson icing his knee, and him and Kane are playing the blame game. Bryan says it's his fault. Kane says it's Bryan's fault. And they're going back and forth. And here comes Vicky Guerrero with her signature and almost dreadful "excuse me," and she informs them that they will have their 4-month evaluation by the man himself, Dr. Shelby. And then basically Kane and Bryan, they channel Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny, no, duck season, rabbit season, by saying Dr. Shelby, he's a monster, going back for he's a monster, he's a nerd, he's a monster, he's a nerd. And as the running theme for Team Hell No. And then we're going to be informed that on SmackDown, this upcoming SmackDown, it will be Alberto Rio versus The Big Show in a non-title match, stemming off of what happened on last Raw. But Kofi's in action against the Worldwide Champion himself, The Big Show. Now, if you blinked, you would have missed the match. I mean, basically the finish was the entire match. The bell rings, Kofi, starting off fast and furious. He's just hammering away Big Show in the corner, and while the referee is pulling Kofi off, pow! WMD, booyah! Out like a light is Kofi Kingston. Big Show picks up the easy win. Now, I'm a fan of Kofi. I do want Kofi to extend more than he has. And, I'm not even going to say that he got buried, because buried, it's not an overnight thing. It doesn't happen one thing and then bam, you're considerably buried. But, it did kind of hurt, for Kofi after coming off losing his title, then losing his rematch. He's knocked out and loses almost in record time. But if you look at you look at it another way, it was maybe the most intelligent utilization of the WMD. I mean, if you're the Big Show and you have a move that can, come at, you can use at any time you feel like it, at moment's notice, it can come. You trying to tell me you would not use it when the referee, is pulling the wrestler away? You would tell me you would not use it when you have an opening? I thought it was a great utilization from the WMD. I maybe didn't like the fact that Kofi lost so quickly, but I felt that was some good ring psychology, in my opinion. Finally, The Rock. Well, wait, hold on, no, because before that, CM Punk came in the ring, and CM Punk basically went on to say how the term pipe bomb has been completely taken out of context. And I tend to agree, because now it seems like when somebody is on the verge of cutting somewhat of a shoot, the other person dropped a pipe bomb. CM Punk goes on to say that a pipe bomb contains honesty and and truth, and which he says we have none. We have no honesty, and it's not we're not honest at all. He goes on to say about how in the WWE, it's not about if you're the best wrestler, it's not about if you're the best mic worker, it's not even about if you're the best overall performer. What it's about is getting the fans to cheer for you. And he's right, because if it was about how it would be like in boxing or in MMA, it was about the best wrestler, and I believe at one time in wrestling, the best performer would be crowned with have something to show for with a belt. That's not the case anymore. So CM Punk was right about it. He wanted to say about how an imaginary character like little Jimmy gets more screen time, so to speak, than our workhorse in Tyson Kidd. I like Tyson Kidd. I would like to see him more action. I always feel there was a cruiserweight division. He would be a prime champ for it. But like for Hornswoggle, that cruiserweight championship is dead. And he also going to say how a 400-pound monster like Brodus Clay, quote unquote, to soil his hands, just a juke job for the fans, and how Bryan Danielson has saddled himself with catchphrase just to get over. You know, you can maybe say Punk is maybe wrong, but sometimes the proof is in the pudding. You know, I'm happy that Bryan, is in a good position, but I'm happy that he's able to get over, with his goat face and stuff, but you know, there's some Bryan Danielson fans that don't like the fact that I've noticed some fans that feel that he's coming off kind of like an idiot now. That's their opinion, and they got some concrete evidence to prove it, to back up their opinion. That's always a good opinion, my opinion. You got something to back it up. He even goes on. Punk even goes on to say how basically how Bruno Sammartino, kind of in a way, basically says the only reason why Bruno Sammartino held the belt for so long because he didn't wrestle in a hectic schedule as Punk does. Some people could agree, but then again, even though Bruno Sammartino may only wrestled, once a month, or for defending his title once a month or so, or he was still called the Destroyer for a reason. Get that away from him. He even goes on to say how Hulk Hogan, then because they never had a TLC match against a guy like Ryback, and then again it's like there weren't TLC matches around Hogan's time. So really, he's like, come on now, that's Punk for you. But The Rock finally, after Punk goes on talk about stuff about he never did anything for the fans, and how Shawn Michaels and Edge are weak because they said whatever they did was for the fans. The Rock finally comes out, and it's finally get to see The Rock and CM Punk in the same ring again. Last time they were in the ring again was at the end of the 1000th Raw, where CM Punk GTS The Rock, and The Rock in typical Rock fashion is cutting the jokes, but also trying to be serious at the same time. That's what The Rock does. But CM Punk, to his credit, he's not even. I don't think there's other time CM really blinked when he was talking to The Rock. You can sense that he wasn't feared. He wasn't scared of The Rock. But then again, I don't think The Rock cares if you're scared of him. I don't think The Rock cares if you're intimidated by the guy. And The Rock goes on to make jokes about how how CM Punk get a tattoo about a tattoo with mostly every candy bar from Mounds, from Snickers to Milky Way, except Almond Joy, because unlike CM Punk, Almond Joy actually has nuts. Even calls him a Popeye on crack. I found those little jokes, those shots to be pretty funny. But CM Punk going to say how now The Rock could shill all of his quote unquote stale material all he wants, but it doesn't change the fact that even with a 16 day schedule or 365-day schedule, or if The Rock had a Santa Claus schedule just one time a year, that it doesn't change the fact that in CM Punk's mind that The Rock would get his ass kicked by him every single time. And I felt that these are the type of heels I like, that are able to bring it to the face. Reminds me of the Attitude Era heels, or some of the Ruthless Aggression heels. They weren't cowards. All of them weren't cowards. And but one thing, when Punk said, right, Rock, his arms are too short to box with God. I don't think I thought of right off the bat. I just thought of Ric Flair when Ric Flair was in TNA, how he was referring to himself as God, not a wrestling God, not just a God. No, he was the God. Once again, CM Punk's ego shooting off the charts. But the Rock, basically says, how Rock's still gonna whip your candy ass, and then boom, the Rock bottom out of the blue. You couldn't, not, if you expected it, not saying I don't blame you, but man, it wasn't the best Rock bottom, but man, it was good enough for revenge for what happened at 1000th Raw. And the Raw ends with the Rock sitting tall with CM Punk sitting, outside, but he doesn't look angry. He doesn't look, scared. He had like a small smirk on his face. I watched that Punk. He's a dangerous man, as he says. And now I know that once again, my brother happened to tell me that he was looking on, I think, his Tumblr, and he found the conversation with our friend Boo Goblin, and I don't know who the other person was, but I could be wrong, but they felt that the Rock basically, that CM Punk owned the Rock on the mic that night. Basically the Rock basically settled for his PG jokes. Yeah, they're entitled to their own opinion. What CM Punk had to say did come off strong, in my opinion. The Rock's gonna entertain no matter what. It's not like the Rock can't do a promo without a joke. I've seen him do promos without cutting some, joke about somebody's, general parts, or and so, in his feud with, his, WrestleMania 17 with the Rock. I mean, with Stone Cold. He was cutting some serious stuff on Austin. It's not like the Rock can't cut a promo without being funny. He can, or in some cases try to be funny, but the Rock is the Rock and CM Punk is CM Punk. I'm a fan of both of them, and I look forward to their Royal Rumble match. I felt that this Raw, especially with the Rock and CM Punk case, set up things very well for the Royal Rumble. So that's my overall thoughts on Raw. That was my overall thoughts on Raw. I don't think I'm going to do a review for a main event, but I will do a review for Impact. Yes, I am a fan of TNA. I'm just a wrestling fan in general. Period. I'm a wrestling fan. I like wrestling. I can watch. Maybe not from CZW. If you're a fan of CZW, you're a fan. I won't get on your case about it. I'm just saying. I just don't. Sometimes I wonder if some of those guys got any real wrestling training, because maybe it's Botchamania, how Botchamania presents them as the butt of every wrestling joke. But then again, there's times where I see some stuff and I'm like, I don't know how some fans can get it, unless you like blood or gore and stuff, and spot monkeys, okay. But some people consider it the new ECW. Now that's where I kind of draw a line, because ECW had some great wrestling. When you had your Eddie Guerreros, you had your Dean Malenkos, and Taz and stuff. But then again, that was ECW. But those are my overall thoughts on Raw for the first Raw of 2013. This is Hokeland 93. I'll catch you for my review for the second Impact of 2013. Until then, peace.